Air, AI-driven redistribution. The common sense engine, or COSEEN, attempts to optimize the political and economic system. For more details, please watch the featured video on the channel. In this video, I will show you how artificial intelligence, using human input, could replace money and redistribution. Let me start with an example. Mary is a sommelier who makes wine, Joe is a carpenter who builds houses, and Chris is a cheesemaker and baker providing bread to the community. Here you can see the number of units they produce in a given period. The following table shows their desires. If total demand was below the total supply, everyone could take their part for free. It is usually not the case, so we need redistribution. Now AIR, the AI-driven redistribution, comes into the picture. First, AIR calculates the optimum and minimum consumption for each person. One input to this calculation is the historical impact of increasing or decreasing supplies on individual productivity. For example, when Joe was given 1.5 loaves of bread in the past, he was fine but did not have the energy to build any houses. When he ate 1.9 loaves, he made 3 houses, just like when he ate 1.7. There is not always enough historical data. Therefore, AIR may have to make an educated guess based on others' historical data. AIR applies the patterns of people with similar consumption habits. Finally, AIR redistributes the supply. In this example, AIR does not consider wine essential to survival, however, it can improve productivity in moderate quantities. As production is below the optimum, everyone will get proportionally less, except for Chris, who is abstinent. Chris bakes more bread than what is required by the optimal redistribution but less than the overall demand. In this case, AIR allocates the optimum to everyone. Joe builds 3 units of house, and everyone needs at least 1 unit to keep up. In this situation, AIR suggests the bare minimum for all. Notice that there is a surplus of bread. For example, Joe could make his dream come true and eat 2 loaves. Nevertheless, if AIR works well, people realize overconsumption is just as bad as underconsumption. In other words, they adjust their wish lists to the optimums calculated by AIR. If that happens, Chris will bake fewer loaves of bread, and he can help Mary or Joe out in his free time, allowing everybody to get nearer to their optimal consumption levels. Just like any economic system, AIR also relies on trust. AIR forces no one to produce anything or to share their products, and people can easily override AIR suggestions by bartering. But if AIR finds the optimum, why would they overrule them? Now imagine replacing bread with thoughts in our little experiment. In COSEEN, the optimal level of our ideas is where they generate the most reactions, support, and debate. The minimum is sharing some opinions occasionally. Our reactions to others' thoughts represent our demands. AIR could optimize the human thinking process and our collective intelligence. Finally, one could argue that AIR is manipulable in a way that allocates most resources to a small group of people, recreating or even strengthening the inequalities that we experience today. AIR would be open-source software, adjusting its parameters through the community decision-making system of COSEEN. Your voluntary communities would determine the parameters applied to you, and you would vote just like any other constituents. Everyone would have their personal AI, and AIR would be the consensus of those AIs. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for your attention.